I'm going to cover registering first. That's the easiest, and frankly, once you do, you could always log in. It takes just a couple of seconds. So at the top of the legislature's website, you see login, which you do once you have an account, or register if you don't. When you're asked to register, it's pretty simple. You're just asked for your name. If you have an organization, you can add it. If not, leave it blank. Phone number, that's optional, but you do have to include your email and create a password. Next, you should take a look at the privacy sections. It will tell you why they need your email address, basically to make sure your testimony is being submitted by a real person and not an automatic generator. And also, it lets you know that whenever you post something on the website, it will be posted without redaction, in other words, without eliminating any personal information. So don't put information on the website that you don't want to become part of the public record. Aside from that, this is a pretty easy form to fill out. You click Create User, and then when you want to log in, you simply click on the Login button here. Part 2 is finding a bill that you want to testify on. The best way to do this is not to do a keyword search and search all of the possible bills, because if you do that, you might come across a number of bills that simply aren't set for a hearing. Then you've wasted your time. The best way to focus yourself is to click on Events here and click on Upcoming Hearings. And you can also reach this by scrolling down to Hearings View. Clicking on that link will take you to a list of all of the hearing notices for that day and going forward for several days. Just to give you some context here, I'm recording this Monday, February 13th, 2023 at 2:19 p.m. So all of the bills that were heard earlier in the day are no longer available for me to submit testimony on. So I'm going to skip all of the bills for today. Okay, possibly that I could submit testimony on bills set for a 3 p.m. hearing today, but that means I'd have to take a look at the hearing notice, read the bill, come up with my ideas, and write them all by 3 o'clock, and that's just too tight a timeline. So I'm going to skip today's hearings and go on to tomorrow's hearings. The legislature has 2 packets of testimony that are submitted with a bill. Any testimony received before the 24-hour prior to the hearing deadline will go into the regular testimony. Any bill received 24 hours or closer to the time of the hearing goes into a specially marked file that's stamped late, and legislators don't usually see this before the hearing. So while you can go on the record by submitting late testimony, it doesn't really help if the legislators aren't going to see this before they make their decision. Any bill that's being heard on the 15th is going to be in good time for testimony submitted on the 13th. So I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to look for a topic, a committee that I'm interested in. That's one of the reasons I asked you to take a look at the acronyms, because embedded in the link here, you'll see the Health Committee, the Housing Committee, Consumer Protection Committee. So I'm going to look for a topic of general interest to me. And the one I'm going to land up on is the 12:30 conference 2 days from now by Water and Land. So I'm going to click on this, and it's going to give me the agenda. And I'll notice a number of bills that I'm interested in, and the first one that I run into is relating to the Green Jobs Youth Corps. This is a program that will pay our youth, high school students, to participate in helping the Department of Land and Natural Resources to preserve our environment. So I'm going to take a look at the bill by clicking here. And I'll read about the bill. Here's the purpose section. I'm going to read all the way through it. And I'm going to see that this is not adding any new language to the HRS. Instead, it's making an appropriation for the Green Job Youth Corps. And that's all the bill says. So if I wanted to submit testimony on this, I would go back to the agenda sheet, and this time, instead of clicking on the bill number, I would click on the link to Status and Testimony. And then here I'll see the orange Submit Testimony button. I can submit testimony because I'm already logged in, I've already registered, so I always log in whenever I come to the legislature's website. And now I'm going to click on the Submit Testimony button for Senate Bill 87, and I'll notice that it's already filled in here, and I'm simply going to click Continue. This will confirm the title of the bill relating to the Green Job Youth Corps, the date, my name is filled in because I'm registered, and I get to select here whether I support, oppose it, or want to offer comments only. And for the purpose of this hypothetical, let's say I support it. Then it will ask me whether I'm testifying as an individual or on behalf of an organization. And then it will allow me to select in-person and written testimony, remotely via Zoom and written testimony, or written testimony only. Notice that this Zoom option is disabled 24 hours before the hearing. As I told you, the 24-hour before the hearing deadline starts the late testimony and also locks out the Zoom option. So I'm going to submit written testimony only. And you could attach a document, or you could simply type your testimony here. If you're not sure what you want to post, if you're not sure if this is the whole thing, if you want to take some time to think about it, you can simply click Save Progress. You'll see that all these other green boxes indicate bills on which I have successfully submitted testimony, but this one is orange because I only hit Save Progress, not Submit. And it will never submit it automatically for you. You would need to go back and then click the Submit button. And since I didn't really submit anything, I'm not going to click it. But you can see that it's very easy to submit testimony. Now, as part 4 to this video, let's just take a look at a bill and see what testimony looks like once you submit it. This is a bill relating to menstrual equity. This is a bill that would require the University of Hawaii to have period products in all of its restrooms for women. And if you scroll down, you'll see that this measure was passed with amendments and that testimony was received. And testimony can be formal or quite informal. For instance, here's testimony from UH itself saying that it supports this bill and wants to actually amend it so the appropriation is $1 million. Here is a formal testimony from the Attorney General's office. And here is simple testimony by an individual member of the Stonewall Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii. And you can see that it's written like a letter, but it's quite short. Individuals who've submitted testimony can write testimony that's even shorter, like this one from Julie Tulang, which simply says, I support the period product bill for girls in all schools. Just remember that when you submit testimony, it will go into the public record. So even if the bill is one that you feel very passionate about, please make sure that you post something that you'll be happy to have your name attached to for eternity. But again, it doesn't need to be long. It doesn't need to be formal like the Attorney General's testimony. It doesn't need to be on letterhead. So that's how you submit testimony at the legislature's website.